Welcome to Tabletop Gaming with Juice. This is a video response for a topic titled Winning by Failing. Now, a few people have touched on this, including Samwise 7 RPG, also known as Tim Harper, Blackjack Rabbit 1970, Hamenopi, and Red Dice Diaries. If anyone else has done one, I'm sorry I did not see your videos. I've only seen those four on this topic, but decided I would do it because, frankly, let's do the video response thing today. So, everybody had some very good points. It almost seemed unanimous that everyone agrees that failing a roll can make a game more fun. I can think of a couple examples just to name a few, but I failed a roll throwing some hand axes in one of Robert Ogre's games through the Tabletop RPG one-shot group. Go check it out if you haven't yet. And I hit Andrew Knapp's character, which should have killed him. But the party saved him still from drowning or something. I don't remember. I guess he broke his neck and somehow the party saved him afterwards. But anyways, it was pretty funny. I thought Andrew thought it was pretty funny. And a lot of times what I've seen is failing a roll can lead to something very funny and humorous, and the whole table will laugh. I'm sure everyone's seen the meme of a D20 on a 1, and it says, you go to stab the ogre in the back and gently caress his neck or something. And it's just something funny. Now, it doesn't have to be funny. You can make the story better in various ways. Maybe you add drama and suspense by breaking the character's weapon on a critical fail. It doesn't always have to be a critical fail either. Maybe it's just a fail in general. So maybe your players are trying to get across a chasm and they fail, and so it adds suspense because now they have to make an athletics check or some kind of a check to hold on. Or you just let them say, all right, you failed the roll, but now you are hanging onto the cliff edge. So you add some suspense and drama that can add to it. In the game I ran, The Frozen Chosen, the players wrecked the boat at the opening scene into the docks. And it made for some entertaining storytelling. There's so many things you can do. Blackjack Rabbit used the example of, you trip or you fail your acrobatics check and you end up at the bottom of a hill between a bunch of bandits. You're captured. So there's a lot of things you can do when it comes to this that can make the story more entertaining or add some humor to the game, and so I don't necessarily agree with Blackjack Rabbit necessarily when he says, if you think it will add to the story, you should fail. I don't agree with that because, frankly, everything's kind of adding to the story. A success would add to the story too. It just is a different direction. Every time you're doing a dice roll, you have a couple directions to go, and the dice roll can dictate that. So maybe the difference is slaying a PC or not slaying a PC based on your die roll, or vice versa. Maybe it's slaying a villain or not slaying a villain, So all sorts of things can happen. I wouldn't say just fail a die roll without looking at your dice if you think it would make the story interesting. Especially as a DM, because I would almost say that's a step towards railroading something. You're trying to push the players away that isn't natural. And not that that's bad. And I think sometimes to do that is fine. But if you get into the habit of doing it a lot, it's a huge problem. Another thing that is interesting that I think makes for a good story is sometimes hitting rock bottom. Think of the hero in a lot of stories. They hit rock bottom and then make their climb back up to the top. Maybe they've lost their friends, or everyone they cared about dies because of a bunch of failed rolls or whatever. Them hitting the bottom based on their failed rolls later on makes those successes a lot more meaningful. So, yeah. One thing I thought was kind of interesting, Tim Harper brought up was a potential rules light system with a percent failure per session. And, he said you could do like, DM would say, you're going to fail this many times this session, 30% of the time. And you're going to succeed 70% of the time. And you get to decide when that is. I thought that was kind of interesting. And there's, in fact, D&D has something like that where you can pre-roll. I think it's a feat. I could be wrong. But you pre-roll a D20 a few times, and you can use that D20 for yourself or give it to whoever you want, kind of thing. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But that idea would make for an interesting gaming session, I think, if whatever you said, say you're not actually using a system. The system is exactly what I just said. You're going to fail this percentage of times, or you're going to fail 2 out of every 3, or whatever. That might make for an interesting game if you have the right players. So I thought that was pretty good by Tim. But yeah, I think this winning by failing thing, in my opinion, is more of a don't fudge your dice type of topic, because a lot of times people fudge their dice due to being afraid of failing, thinking that failing is the end all be all, when really it's not. And that goes for everything. Players dying, for example, doesn't have to be the end. This is a game. Maybe you have a TPK, right? That doesn't mean the game's over. You can take those same players in Hades, have them fight their way out or have to find a way to get out, and then they come back to life, or something along those lines. You could do something like that. Or maybe you have a TPK, but then you decide, yeah, that was non-lethal damage. They wake up in a strange place, and who knows where the story goes there. So, you don't need to fudge rolls. You can win by failing, because that now adds a whole new chapter to your game that wasn't going to happen otherwise. And that's interesting. It makes for fun games, interesting games. So you might agree, you might disagree. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Feel free to do a video response. I personally like comments, but a video response is fine. And yeah, go check out my blog, all that good stuff. Like, comment, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. Have a good day, and I'll see you guys next time.